Putin says that Russia's attitude towards the crisis in Syria is based on international law and the logic of peace. The UN announces that the details of the plan for getting rid of Syria's chemical weapons will be announced next week. A military source says that units of the Syrian Arab army begin a mission in Adra town to clear it of al-Nusra terrorists. Snows cover Syrian cities and mountains in the first day of al-Aqsa storm. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Iraqi Krikorian from the News Center in Damascus. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said Russia's stand towards the Syrian crisis is based on international law principles, rational approach and the logic of peace. In his annual message to the Russian Parliament on the 20th anniversary of the ratification of the Russian Constitution, Putin said Russia has been able with its partners to keep away the shadow of war from Syria and to head towards a peaceful solution to the crisis. Putin pointed out that there have been attempts in recent years to impose a so-called more advanced example of development on various states in the Middle East and North Africa. Because of the tragic situation in Syria, he said, we had to choose between the use of force and the adoption of collective decisions. He added that Russia has decided to take rational decisions which any responsible state should work accordingly, away from intervention in states' internal affairs. The Russian president made it clear that his country did not compromise its interests during the attempt to find a settlement to the Syrian crisis, adding that the situation in Syria and Iran proves the possibility of solving conflicts without the use of force. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov renewed his country's call that the Geneva II conference would hopefully lead to peace and a political solution. Lavrov pointed out that the Syrian people themselves are the ones entitled to find a political solution, not Russia or the US or Europe or the Gulf states. Lavrov added that Russia is worried about the divisions inside the Syrian opposition, pointing out that all shades of this opposition must be represented in Geneva II conference. The official spokesman for the UN Secretary-General, Martin Serki, announced that the Organization of Chemical Weapons Prohibition will publish a detailed map about the process of getting rid of Syria's chemical weapons. Serki added that it is still premature to speak about the plan in detail, pointing out that discussions are still underway to get rid of these weapons. Head of Chemical Weapons Prohibition Organization, Ahmed Ozmojo, stressed that Syria had fulfilled all its obligations towards the organization, showing full cooperation and presenting all facilities for the organization's experts on the ground. Syria's UN Permanent Representative in Geneva, Faisal al-Hamwi, stressed in a statement before the UN Commission for Refugees that Syria has never experienced the problem of internal displacement except when Israel expelled the Syrian citizens from the occupied Syrian Golan in 1967, adding that Syria has always been a safe haven for civilians escaping persecution, offering them all help needed to live in dignity. He pointed out that the Syrian government, since the beginning of the crisis, has worked hard to offer humanitarian aid to 80% of displaced families. Al-Hamwi stressed that the Syrian government allocated 30 billion Syrian pounds for the year 2013 and 50 billion Syrian pounds for the year 2014. The Levant Islamic Scholars Federation has said in a statement that the expulsion of Yusuf al-Qardawi from al-Azhar al-Sharif has been a decision taken with a sense of responsibility and a deep feeling of religious integrity. The statement added that the Federation regarded with appreciation al-Azhar al-Sharif scholars' decision, wishing Egypt security and stability. The statement pointed out that al-Azhar al-Sharif has always been the torch of Islamic law and one of the most important references of the Islamic nations. A military source announced that terrorist groups affiliated with al-Nusra terrorist organization has broken into the workers' residential town of Adra and started attacking the civilians, expelling them from their homes, as news reports referred to massacres perpetrated against the civilians. The source added that units of the Syrian Arab army were immediately sent to the area and started their tasks to liberate the city from all terrorists. Our armed forces continue to pursue terrorist gangs. In Homs, the Syrian Arab army has destroyed a hideout of terrorist gangs leaders in al-Ghasibiyya, eliminating a number of terrorists and injuring others. In Aleppo, the Syrian Arab army has eliminated a number of terrorists in Handarat camp, Sheikh Said and the surroundings of Aleppo Central Prison. The army has meanwhile intercepted an attempt by a terrorist group to attack Al-Kindi hospital, killing and wounding the majority of its members. The Syrian Arab armed forces also eliminated a terrorist group in Bustan al-Qasr. The gang used to target residential areas with missiles, shells and mortar guns. The army has moreover destroyed terrorist hideouts in ancient Aleppo. In Idlib suburbs, dozens of terrorists have been killed or wounded in operations against their hideouts in Majrin, Al-Majas and Abu Duhur. Large quantities of weapons and ammunition have been destroyed. Within the framework of improving the combat power of Iraqi border points along the Syrian borders, Iraqi Defense Ministry announced that it has sent additional reinforcements equipped with developed weapons in an attempt to confront the terrorist organizations infiltrating back and forth between Iraq and Syria. Iraqi joint forces attacked terrorist dens in Kirkuk and Nineveh and captured 74 terrorists, including 3 of their leaders. The Iraqi authorities also arrested 18 terrorists in different areas north of Babel. Snowfalls continue in major Syrian governorates as temperatures tend to drop 6 to 9 degrees below their annual average.
On its first day in Syria, the Alexa blizzard was less dense than it was expected, particularly in Damascus and some coastal areas. However, it grew stronger in Aleppo, Suwaida, Idlib, Hama, Al-Hasaka and Quneitra. Temperatures have dropped to become 8 to 11 degrees less than their annual average, with very cold and wet winds. In Damascus, snow was 25 centimeters thick in Slomfe and Sergaya and more than 1 meter high in some districts in Homs and Idlib Governorate. Al-Hasaka Governorate, that has witnessed no snowfalls for 10 years, has taken full preparations to confront the repercussions of this storm, which may lead to floods. As snow is expected to continue to fall at low altitude, the Ministry of Education has announced the closure of public and private schools, and work came to a standstill in some governmental departments and private establishments, particularly in the governorates, where Alexa was remarkably tense.
Now to latest business and market news, but after a short break, stay tuned.